Good evening and welcome to the 2022 Rockville Centre Schools Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is Heather Tetta and I am co-president of the Rockville Centre Council of PTAs. My partner in organizing this forum is Marlene Albarano, Vice President of School and Community for the Rockville Centre Council of PTAs. We both thank you all for coming out tonight to learn more about the candidates for this year's Board of Education election. Before we begin, we'd like to give special thanks to Mary Lou Celeberti for her help with organizing details for tonight's event. Thank you also to Mr. Murphy for allowing us to use the auditorium and for connecting us with Mr. Rosencrantz, our amazing team of student volunteers from the Southside High School Political Club. Students, we appreciate your help so much. Thank you to Eric Lonks and the custodial staff here at Southside High School, Patrick Walsh and the security team, and to Bob Kroger, Rob Lichter, and Matt Cobb for setting up the live stream and video recording of tonight's forum. That video will be posted either tomorrow or later this week. This year, we have two candidates, Donna Downing and John O'Shea, running for one open seat on the Rockville Centre Board of Education. The election and budget vote will take place on Tuesday, May 17th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. here at Southside High School. Qualified registered voters may also apply to vote via absentee ballot, and those applications and instructions can be found on the rvcschools.org website. If you are unsure whether you are registered to vote, you can also check your voting status on the rvcschools.org website. If you need to register to vote, you must contact the district clerk and register in person by May 12th. It is now our pleasure to introduce you to our moderator this evening from the Nassau County League of Women Voters, Nancy Rosenthal. Nancy is the first Vice President of Voter Service for the League of Women Voters of New York State and also serves as the President of the League of Women Voters of Nassau County. Our timekeeper tonight is Sarah Nicholas, who serves as the President of the League of Women Voters of Long Beach. Thank you, ladies, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so wonderful to see so many people here, and I must say you've already given a plethora of questions for me to go through, so thank you. We drew straws at, sort of straws, at the beginning, and Mr. O'Shea will go first. Both the candidates have requested that I use their first names, so this will be a first name basis forum. Both candidates have agreed to certain procedures, which I will just outline for you briefly. The moderator will be somebody outside of the district, so I have no gain in what's happening here tonight. We've drawn straws. Each candidate will give a 3-minute opening. They will give a 2-minute closing. They will have 1.5 minutes to answer your questions that I have up here. I will take all of these questions, I will sort through them. There's a very good chance that your question may not be asked exactly as you've written it, or it may not be asked. You might sense that it's not going to be asked, but what I'm doing is grouping the questions and making sense of what the consensus is in the questions. We don't have time to answer 150 questions, so that's the way we make it more manageable. Sarah, thank you for being our timekeeper. Really appreciate it. And Sarah has signs that the candidates know, a 30-second and a stop sign. Everybody knows a run-on sentence, and so do I. And so I will stop you and let you kind of finish, but not go too long after a short few words. In accordance with the league policy, and again, the candidates have agreed to this, there's only the live streaming allowed tonight. No cell phone use to take pictures, take video, and there can be no clips of tonight's broadcast used. It must be used in its entirety. So, with that, let's start with the opening statement. John?
Thank you. I've had the privilege of being your representative on the Board of Education for the past 12 years. For most of those years, I served as a minority member, and although I brought up many concerns and questions, many were often dismissed by the majority of the board. This year, I was joined by other board members that shared many community members and my vision for transparency and accountability, and we began the process of correcting the deficits our district currently faces. I'm proud of the support this community continually gives to our school district, and I am working towards making administration accountable to the students and parents of the district. With your support, I led the charge to fight for our schools to be open with all in-person teaching at all levels in the district. I was instrumental in making the district provide quarantine instruction for our students during this school year. I publicly questioned our athletic director to reveal the need for assistant coaches throughout the sports program and the need for additional funds to support our athletic programs. I pushed to restore our parent attendance at concerts, plays, and sporting events. I was very proud to open a board meeting to the students of Southside High School to convince the athletic director to bring back red and blue to its full format. Student and community involvement yielded the successful return of red and blue. That need for open participation was so apparent that evening. These are just a few items that I have been able to accomplish this year. They have all been discussed in public view with the input of any member of the public who wanted to participate in the process. I'd like to share a few things about myself. I do not now, or more importantly, I have never supported the teaching of critical race theory in our schools. Critical race theory will only serve to divide, not unite us. The community has very clearly stated that to me. I do not want to impose my personal beliefs or opinions on any member of this community. I simply want to represent you to the best of my ability. I do not want to hide or remove your cultural or religious symbols or history from our schools. I want us to all learn about what makes us different, and with that knowledge we can understand each other better. I do not want to influence a change of common practice in any of our schools without open public discussion. I do not want to empower our school district to remove the rights of our parents and to assume parental responsibility on any personal matters. Parental choice is of utmost importance to me. I would, however, ask you to support me in my election as trustee to the Board of Education on May 17th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. The polls are open at the Southside High School. Thank you.
Donna.
Thank you, Nancy, Sarah, Heather, and Marlene. Thanks to everyone in the control room, and thanks to our student volunteers. I've been working to support our schools for the past 15 years. I believe all children should have the freedom to learn. Education has to prepare them to face the challenges of an increasingly complicated world. My name is Donna Downing, and I'm a mom of 4 public school kids. I love our schools, and I'm running for the Board of Ed. I hope that after listening to my answers and getting to know me, you'll see that I care about all of our students and that I will listen to you and hear your concerns. I've met with hundreds of residents in our district lately, and I have heard what you're worried about. I am concerned too. We have a lot of work to do. You're worried about political agendas in our schools, and I am too. We cannot play politics in our schools or in our classrooms. Schools are about learning. I've heard your concerns about advanced classes. We know that acceleration was designed to give opportunity. Do we know if it's providing excellence for all? I commit to figuring this out to make sure our kids are getting the appropriate education they're entitled to. I know you're unhappy about rankings, and I am too. This is not a new problem. I commit to getting to the bottom of the issue and making it a priority. We hear a lot about the middle school and the IB. I'd like to hear about our elementary schools too. That's a crucial time for our kids, where we build trust, we make school fun, and we lay the foundation for a lifetime of learning. Let's focus on those youngest learners too. I have a background in education. I teach at the college level. I know what questions to ask, and I will continue to ask those tough questions to our administrators and our teachers who are doing the work day after day. I believe in the best ideas, no matter where they come from. We don't get the best ideas when we cut people out of the process. Public schools belong to all of us, and we need more chances to be heard. That's why I want to bring back town hall forums. We used to have packed auditoriums where we asked questions and we got answers on issues like testing, opting out, special ed. This district has some problems, and a big one is communications. We do not know enough about what's going on. We need to involve more people. If elected, I'll work to build parent advisory groups that represent a wide cross-section of our community. I will help us work together. We need to be united.
Thank you. Excuse me. Could we hold the clapping until the end when we conclude the forum, please? Thank you. Thank you. The first question, John, goes to you. And it's about the proposed budget. Is it a responsible budget? Is it sustainable? Was it well communicated to the public? Is there anything in the budget you would like to change?
Well, the budget goes through a long process of approval. We meet over many meetings to discuss it with the public. We bring all the people who form the budget into a meeting room, and we discuss its formation, what it consists of. If I was not in support of the budget, I would not be in support of our kids. We need to support the budget to move forward with the programs that are spelled out in the budget. We have many programs that will advance from where we are into a better place for our kids. We have worked with our special ed assistant superintendent, and we will move integrating. We want to move integrating co-teaching into our elementary schools to start the process of creating a better atmosphere for everybody in the classroom, but in particular special ed children. We have an increase in foundation aid this year, and that will help us to fund many of the programs that are listed on the budget. We are adding so many new things to the budget. It will be sustainable because we're assured from the state that foundation aid will stay moving forward. The foundation aid increase is something that we deserve, that we have been shortchanged over many years. The state of New York is finally coming forward and saying this is your piece of the pie, and that's what we deserve to get. Thank you.
Donna.
Yes, to answer the initial question, yes, I support the budget. I think our budget shows us what our priorities are. Where are we putting our money? And I'm always in favor of more teaching and more learning. The foundation aid that was mentioned is an additional $3 million. So it would have been nice to give our taxpayers a break and go with either a lower increase on the levy or a 0% increase, as some other local districts are doing. I understand and I support the new programs, the new teams, the new coaches. I hope everyone knows what is in the budget. I hope that it has been transparent to everyone. The integrated co-teaching at the elementary school is an additional 15 teachers. There are additional teachers in 8th grade math. There are additional assistant coaches. I think what we need to build into this budget are clear benchmarks and accountability. How will we know, when will we know that these new programs are working? What are the goals? How do we measure them? How do we report back to our taxpayers that these are successful programs that are leading to student success?
Thank you. Donna, this question's for you. Please talk about the relationship between the board and the teachers' union.
Our obligation.
Excuse me, it's Donna.
Okay.
Donna's first, that's okay.
I am concerned about the current state of the relationship between the board and our teachers. And if I am elected, I will make it my priority to ensure that we work together. We have to unite what is clearly a fractured community. We need to consult all of the key stakeholders. We need to listen to everyone's opinions, especially the people in the classrooms doing the work. The parents, the teachers, the staff, the administration, we need to listen to everyone's take on what is happening, especially the people we disagree with, because that's where we get the answers. That's where we get all of the information we need to make a determination. I will bring stability, not chaos. I will make informed decisions. I will do the work, I'll be prepared, and I will hit the ground running.
John?
We open our meetings to the public and have eliminated the committee formation for a reason of giving everybody in the public an opportunity to speak. That is how we will, the public, this is your school district, the public is entitled to have a say in how the district is run. There is an issue personally between myself and the union president. Other than that, I don't know if that issue exists through the network of teachers. I can't help how someone personally feels about me for doing my job on the Board of Education, for making a decision that I will stand behind time and time again. I have no regrets for that decision. If a member of the union chooses to come after me, then I can't make that not happen, and I won't change who I am to accommodate one person's desire, one person's problem with me. The community is entitled to open meetings, to be part of the conversation. The union has its representation at the table, at the negotiating table, and the community is the people that I strive to serve. That's who I'm here to serve, as the community members. Thank you.
Thank you. How do you plan to facilitate partnership and trust between teachers, the BOE, and the community? John, that's your question.
Again, open meetings, conversations at the table. We're very fortunate to announce that a new superintendent who will begin next year, who will be the primary person who will speak to the teachers and bring an understanding of where the goals the board and the administration will set to take the district in the future. That the job of the new superintendent will be to address the teachers and the union president and bring them together. The board is, like I said before, the board is not there to negotiate with the teachers. The board is there to set the goals and the vision of the district as we move forward, and the superintendent is then tasked with the responsibility of bringing the teachers on board. Thank you.
Donna?
I think one of the first steps we need to take is really to facilitate some trust between the organizations that you asked about in the question, teachers, Board of Ed, the community members. We need to treat each other with respect. I believe there are two ways, clearly identifiable ways, that we can build these relationships and make our district stronger and make sure that we are aligned in our goals moving forward. I do not think the committee structure is a flawed model. I understand that some people have had concerns about who sits on what committee, but there are ways to fix that. That is an easy problem to address with a wide variety of stakeholders represented in working groups. On the finance, we have so many smart people in this town on finance. Let's get them to certify the budget plans. Let's talk to our marketing experts and work on our communications. There's gotta be a better way to get information. Let's talk to our students. How are they finding their workload? There are so many opportunities for working groups that can help. And the second way are those town hall forums. We need answers. We need leadership, and we need to work together.
Donna, the buzzword for this election is change. We all know the BOE can't enact change on its own. So please explain your goals and how you plan to work with the administration to meet these goals.
I agree that we need to have discussions out in the open. No one wants to feel that there are secret conversations happening and that parents and community members are not free to have their voices heard and to have their concerns addressed. Our goal has to be to focus on education. We need to address what our children have lost over the past 2 years. The pandemic has been so difficult for all of us. We need to involve all of the different stakeholders that we need to hear from, the teachers and staff, the building principals, and our students. We need to come together. Everyone in our community has a role to play. Everyone has to feel that their input is valued, that it's welcomed, and that it's important. If I'm elected, I will make sure that all of the stakeholders have all of the information that they need, and I will hold people accountable for their decisions.
John.
The committee structures that have been in place in the past violate open meeting laws. It's a simple rule. It's a law. Those committees meeting with a certain amount of people, a very limited amount of people, do not comply with the law. We have hired a new law firm this year. We are taking that all under advisement, and under advisement, committees are not a legal avenue to have conversation with the board. Bringing it to the public forum, bringing it for the opportunity for everybody in the room to hear all parts of the conversation, not be excluded by some conversation in a back room with 10 people and getting a secondhand recount of what was happening. That's not legal. We cannot do that any longer. Some districts may do it. It's still not legal. We need to bring all our conversations to the public forum. That's been the goal this year. That's what we're striving to do, and that's what the district needs to do to be accountable to the open meeting laws. Thank you.
Thank you. John, do you think our district gets a fair share of its state funding? And what innovative ideas do you have for the use of them?
Well, this year, it seems like we've finally gotten a fair share with the increase in foundation aid. Finally gotten the piece of the pie that we deserve to get every year. Unfortunately, with the state, that number changes on a regular basis, but for the benefit of everybody here in Rockville Center, that aid is available and has been promised for years in the future. We need to invest that money into education. We are investing it into teachers in the elementary schools this year. We are investing it into increasing the coaching positions for our athletic programs. We'll invest it into personnel, and we'll invest it into helping our children get through the struggles that they have been getting through. An investment in our kids is the only way we can improve the district and make our kids understand where they can go and what they can do. We need to give them the opportunity to be propelled into the future with an education that was fair and balanced and comfortable for them to get through. Thank you.
Donna?
I'm also glad that the state has finally increased foundation aid so that we can fund all of the ways that we need to get our kids back on track after the pandemic. I don't love when New York State funding comes with strings attached, as it is with universal pre-K. When the state gives us money, yet makes it impossible for us to use it in some ways, that's not helpful. The state also hands down unfunded mandates all the time. Some of them are for good reason. Megan's Law, reopening of schools, things like fingerprinting for teachers, but we need to make sure that the mandates that come down come with funding. For years, historically, Long Island has more of the students and less of the money than other parts of New York State. I think we also need to look for alternative sources of funding so that we don't keep hitting our taxpayers. There are grant monies out there. I have a background in grant writing. I can come with all kinds of new ideas to get the money we need.
Thank you. Donna, this question's for you. What do you think is the biggest challenge currently facing our district, and how would you look to address that challenge? And what is your vision for the district?
I think the biggest problem right now is trust. I think people don't feel heard. I think a big problem right now is communication. I feel like we know less now about what's going on than we used to. My vision would be to work together to support our new superintendent. We can't keep losing people. We can't afford it. Our kids can't afford it. My vision is to work together, to bring us together and bring us to a place of unity, to work together for the success of our students. We need to make sure all of the stakeholders are involved, that we're speaking to all of the people involved in our children's education so that we can make sure they are getting the best of everything here in Rockville Center Schools.
Thank you. John?
I think our biggest problem is our out-of-date curriculum and the unwillingness of the district to move forward to look at that curriculum, provide the data, and make the changes necessary that our kids can have a more impactful education. I also believe our big deficit that we have faced is the lack of leadership at the superintendent level for the past few years. And as I said, we're fortunate. We hired a superintendent who has unbelievable goals and a direction to help us go in, and we have been lacking that for all the 12 years I've been on the board. We have asked for the goals and direction of the district, and it has never been clear for the board or clear for the public to understand where the district is headed to go. That will change July 1 with the new superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. John, this question's for you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Did I miss you?
No.
Thank you. Okay, good. I thought I screwed up. Okay, John, what do you think has most impacted the district rankings, and what is one change you support to improve them? And if you can, do you think district rankings are important?
We should never teach to achieve a ranking. We should never seek that. We should seek excellence in our education. But we do have to look at why, over the past many years, our rankings have fallen. And if you look into the program, it is clear that we are missing a focus in the way our education is going. We have very little guidance directing curriculum to go in the right direction. We have very little information about that because there doesn't seem to be a Rockville Center-based curriculum in existence, and it hasn't existed in many, many years. So that would be, to look into that, to understand what's happening on that level, will automatically bring our rankings up, automatically raise the bar for our children, and improve their education.
Donna?
I share everyone's concerns about school rankings. They are tied to the educational experience of our children, and they're also tied to our home values and our property values, and they have to be a priority. This is not a new issue. We have been hearing about this every April or May for many years. What happens in between? What happens between when the rankings come out and the following year? Why hasn't anyone been tasked with figuring this out? If elected, I will get to the bottom of these questions. Some of the rankings have us high, some of them have us low, some are in the middle. Every ranking uses a different methodology, a different way to measure success. Some of them are easier to figure out than others if they're reliant on survey results or survey returns, or if, as some districts have 8th and 9th grade algebra scores considered because those students are in the same building with the same address. And our 8th graders are on Hillside and our 9th graders are here on Shepherd Street. That's a paperwork problem. We can figure this out. We have to put people on it. We have to make it a priority, and I will make it a priority.
Donna, this question's for you. What do you think about giving Chromebooks or other technology to elementary school students? And tied to that is, would you revise the technology curriculum?
I would revise every curriculum all the time. I think we have to be very open-minded with any of our curricular decisions. We have to see what's working. We have to know what benchmarks are we trying to hit. How are we measuring success? I think screen time and technology is an ongoing battle for so many parents, particularly coming out of the pandemic. We struggle to keep devices away from our kids, and then they're handed one, and we need a plan. Certainly, our kids need to be prepared to use technology. They need to be educated to deal with the challenges of the future, but we need a plan for mindful use of technology. Kids need to know that screens and devices affect them in ways they might not even be aware of. It affects their sleep, it affects levels of anxiety and depression. I think we can teach kids at an early age to recognize the feelings that come along with using technology, and we can help them manage those challenges.
John?
We strive to improve the education of our kids, and using technology is part of that improvement. We don't encourage endless uses of to use the computer or the Chromebook, but that's part of the curriculum we are using to move forward. It enables our kids to be more prepared as we move forward in time. It is a tool, just a tool. It is not something that we demand 100% use. It's just a tool. It's used as a textbook or a notebook. It is not something that is on. It should not be something that is on, and I don't believe anybody advocates for that. It's just meant to be used as a tool. Just as we have our computers at home and our iPads at home, it's the same thing. Its function is to be a tool to help our children exceed and understand how we move forward with education.
John, do you believe that parents should be dictating the curriculum the district provides,
Excuse me, what was that? Parents should be what?
Dictating Should parents, do you believe that parents should be dictating the curriculum the district provides or the best ways to implement that curriculum?
I do not, just as much I don't believe the district should be dictating everything in curriculum. I think we need to bring curriculum, bring a conversation, bring a forum out to help the district meet the parents and the students' need. That's open conversation. There's no need for a conversation to be held behind closed doors with a handful of people. This is something that affects all our children and our schools. We need to open this conversation up to the public as we look at our curriculum, look at where we want to go with our curriculum. It is yours. I say it all the time, it's your school district. It shouldn't fall back on the backs of 10 people in a room to come up with policies or procedures and then transfer that information to the general public. It should be talked about. It needs to be talked about from start to finish in public, not behind the scenes. Thank you.
Donna?
I would say that if you as a parent have questions, concerns, issues with either books that are being read or curriculum, the first point of contact is your teacher, your child's teacher, right? Start these conversations. If you don't get answers, talk to the principal and then talk to the administrators. There is a chain of accountability, right? We should be able to get answers to these questions. And I think if we can have the conversations about what is the curricular goal, right? What are the standards that come down from New York State? What are the goals of the curriculum? Why would certain things be chosen? Yes, that all needs to be transparent. Everyone needs to understand what the curricular goal is and what the steps and strategies are to get there. We can disagree. We can have these open-ended conversations and we can compromise, but they have to be discussions held with respect. That's what I will be about if elected to your Board of Ed.
Donna, do you support bringing back AP courses? Why or why not?
As an educator, I have to be, and I always am, open to change. As a new superintendent comes on board, I would say everything is on the table. We need to review all of our academic programs. Do they prepare kids for college and beyond? What are the gaps? I think technology, actually, I should have thought of this in the technology question. One of the gaps is computer science. I would love to see, and I've been asking for, AP computer science. Our kids need to be able to compete with other kids from other high schools who have different programs. We have to find out, are they getting college credit? There are tough questions to ask. We need to review all of our curriculum, and yes, I would certainly be open to any of the recommendations brought before the board.
John?
I believe we need to open the curriculum to a more diverse offering. We need to offer our kids different lines to seek what their course of study will be and where that will take them in the future. AP offers different things than IB does. The model of IB for all is, in my opinion, is not helping all of our children. It's great for some, but not great for others. It doesn't offer them an opportunity to study a different line or go into a different direction. We need to make offerings in AP more available in our high schools and give kids a different track to go to meet their educational needs to achieve.
John, you brought this up, and it's the next question. Do you support IB for all? What are the pros and cons of IB for all? What, if anything, would you change?
I do not support IB for all any longer. There's too much data or too much information that's coming out from our students and our parents and children who have gone off to college that say that the IB program doesn't doesn't help them, didn't help them, can't help them in their course of study. I think we need to reevaluate that model and add the option of AP classes, pathway classes if that's what's necessary, offer more vocational training if that's what some students want. We need to open up our eyes and give more opportunity for every child in our district, not just aim for one thing. One thing has not worked for us that well, and we need to change the model that we're using.
Donna.
So IB for All refers to two classes, English and history, where those classes, as voted in back in 2010, 2011, those were the choices for English and history in 11th grade. That ended in 2019. In 2019, the administrators, the principals, the instructors at the high school brought a new plan and said, we are not doing IB for All anymore. Now there is what they called a co-seated model in English and history, where the instruction is differentiated depending on the student's choice. The student elects whether to be at the Regents level, and they are preparing for the English Regents or the history Regents, and there are students in that class who are preparing for an IB exam. So IB for All ended in 2019. How those co-seated classrooms are working is a great question, and I would love to have some answers about that. I understand that in the pandemic, Regents exams were canceled, so we don't have quantitative data points and numbers, but certainly we have qualitative data. We can talk to the students. How's your experience? We can talk to the teachers. We need to talk to the teachers. How are these classes going? Is there a better way? We have piloted them for 3 years now. Let's see how they're working.
Thank you. Donna, this question's for you. What is your philosophy of special ed? What are your thoughts on students with IEPs and learning disabilities? Most importantly, intellectual deficits being taught in the same classrooms at the same pace with advanced students.
So this is a topic near and dear to my heart as a parent of children with disabilities. It's been a goal of mine to make sure that they know their disability does not define them. Kids are so much more than their limitations. We need to make sure that they are in the appropriate environment where they feel good about their learning, where they see that people believe in them and that people are there to support them. A one-size-fits-all curriculum is not appropriate. I understand that. IEPs, individualized education plans. We need to use all of the resources available to us to make sure that the child's goals are being met, that the goals are appropriate, and we need to train everyone involved in that relationship. The special ed teachers, the classroom teachers, the service providers, the one-to-one aides. There are so many pieces of this child's experience, and everyone needs to be rowing in the same direction to get our children to the level of achievement that they are capable of.
John?
The way we place or drive our children in this district is faulty for many of our students, but in particular for most special ed students, because they are forced to be in a situation that they may or may not be able to get through the curriculum. We need to give pathways for our students that can't achieve what everybody's placed on the same in the same direction, the same curriculum. You can argue the point that if you're in a co-seated class, an IB is being taught, but Regents are being offered, it's still a very demanding curriculum, and some of our students just can't do that work. Just can't. So we need to give our special ed students and our regular ed students struggle with those classes also. We need to give them a pathway to achieve the best that they can in our school district, and not force them into a line of education that they can't handle or can't comprehend and understand, and help them become members of society, productive members of society.
Thank you. This may be the same as the IB, but since I'm not in this school, I see the questions as different the way they came through. Do you support advanced classes for all at the 8th grade level? And I take it that also means accelerated classes at the middle school level in the, it looks like mostly the sciences.
I support advanced classes, but I don't support advanced classes for all. For the same reason that not every student can achieve an IB in the IB curriculum, advanced classes offer the right education for some of our students, but not all of our students. The middle school in particular, the curriculum is very compacted, so we can achieve the goals of giving the IB exams and the region exams at the accelerated level that this district has moved toward in the past. We need to let our students who can and want to achieve at an accelerated level, we need to offer them the opportunity to do that. We need to offer the students who want to do IB and move forward in the IB direction the opportunity for that. We need to give our students who want AP learning the opportunity for that, and we need to create a pathways program for the students that can't or won't or don't want to achieve in that direction. So it's to open up different avenues to educate our children.
Donna.
So the question is about 8th grade math, and I have to say that as with any curriculum decision, we have to be open to change. We have to look at how it's working for our students. That's the first step. How is it working for our students? We need to ask the hard questions, and we need to get the answers. I know how it works for my kids in my house. You might know how it works for your kids in your house. What do the teachers say? They see broad trends year after year. Right now, there are 260, 280 students in 8th grade math. How is it going? What do the teachers say? We have to be mindful of the whole population and recognize that any changes that we make have a ripple effect from 8th grade up to 12th grade and from 8th grade down. Everything changes when we make any sort of broad curricular decision. I would also want to ask, what doors open for kids in the structure we have now? And when we consider changes, are we considering who will lose? Who will be prevented from taking college-level classes? I am always for choice. I am always for opening up doors for students, but I would be against rushing through any changes before all of the stakeholders have had their say.
Thank you. Donna, this question's for you. How will you protect freedoms for all children to have access to all learning materials regardless of political views?
I think children absolutely need the freedom to learn. We need to ensure that we are in line with the mission statement of the Rockville Center Schools, which is to prepare our students to meet the emerging challenges of tomorrow's world. We need to make sure that our students have the very best curriculum, the very best teachers, and that everyone is prepared to give our students the education that will enable them to succeed.
John?
The question went to protect our kids from, can you just repeat the question for me? I'm sorry.
My pleasure. How will you protect freedoms for all children to have access to all learning materials regardless of political views?
That's an issue that New York State does control for us. They are New York State is in the process of taking away some literature and adding literature. So it's the community's involvement, the community's reaching out to their legislators to change the way New York State's dealing with education in this state. It's unfortunate to hear that certain books are being pulled out of our library because New York State doesn't find them appropriate for our kids, and putting other books into the library that they feel are appropriate. That's something the school district doesn't have a control over, but our legislators do. It's something that's driven by the state, and we need to, if we find a reason that we don't agree with it, we need to become involved as a community and speak to our elected officials in the state to make those changes. So we are not in a place to tell the state without voters telling their representatives that they're not going to support them. Change won't happen at that level. So they will continue to put books in our district and take books out of our district that we may or may not approve of.
Next question's for you, John. Since there is no more assumed anonymity in emailing, how do you suggest there is more transparency and correspondence between parents and teachers in RVC schools, parents and administrators as well?
Well, I truly believe if you write the school district with a concern, your privacy will be protected if you're speaking about your child. But if you're writing the school district in an email form and you're upset that it may become public because it's foiled by the law, we have no say over that. But my belief is if you have a conviction for what you're asking for, if you have conviction for what you're asking a principal to do in a building, if you have conviction for what you're, what you might ask the board or the administration to do, you should be okay with standing there and saying that. It shouldn't be something that you have to, you feel threatened because somebody might know. It's unfortunate we are in a time where people are polarized one way or the other, but emails have become the public forum. That's how most people communicate, and you need to have the conviction and the strength to stand by what you're asking for or speaking about, and then you won't be threatened by what may come out of it.
Donna?
The trust in our communications is gone. It's broken. It's going to take a long time to repair. Teachers need to be able to rely on emailing parents. Parents need to be able to email their children's teachers. Teachers are in the classroom all day. They can't pick up the phone. They have been using email for years, and now what's gone on here has had a chilling effect on our communications. Just because something's legal doesn't make it right. I don't think that transparency, let me say that a different way. We need transparency. We need information. We need to know what's going on. But we also need to have trust in our communication system so that we can get that information.
Donna, do you support diversity, equity, and inclusion in the district? What do you believe the district is doing well in this area? and how could it improve?
So, diversity is demographics. People are who they are. And I hope that everyone feels that this community is a welcoming place for your families, for your children, no matter what. Schools need to be a safe place for children to learn. Inclusion is always a goal. Everyone should be included. Everyone should feel they are respected, they are welcome, and that they belong. Everyone can play a part in this. We can always do better, but we need to start from a place of respect.
John?
We are an inclusive district. We include everybody in all that we do. We are a diverse district also with different populations, different religions, different backgrounds of people. So together, that is Rockville Center. Diversity and inclusion is now deemed as almost a bad thing to talk about. I believe that every child has a right to a classroom environment where they feel safe, accepted, and included. If that's being diverse and inclusive, then that's what I believe in. But I don't believe in any type of indoctrination into somebody's thought process or theme. And I'd just like to go back to the law that Donna spoke to. The law tells us that someone who foils a document is entitled to that document. There's nothing that the district can do about that except comply to the law. To say that you will go against the law would break your oath if you were to be elected as an officer of a Board of Education member. We have to comply with the law. The law says any information that's not pointing out a child's name or identifying the child, that is public knowledge. And if you can't be proud of what you write, then you should call your teacher out, I'm going to say. You shouldn't carry on that conversation in a format that could possibly bring you into a public.
John, do you support a curriculum that more accurately depicts American history, including slavery and systemic racism?
I support curriculum that teaches our children our history, our past, so we can better improve where we go in the future. If our children don't understand where we came from and what our forefathers have went through, they will never understand the challenges that they went through and appreciate or understand the way to move forward, the way to be better, the way to make what the mistakes of the past, to make improvements and eliminate those mistakes in the future. If you don't understand or learn about what happened in our history, I don't understand how we can expect our kids to go to a better place, be in a better place, because understanding and learning about the wrongs that have happened over history will only prove to make a better student, a better, well-rounded person. That's my belief.
Donna?
I want to say in very plain language that CRT has no place in our schools. I completely understand why parents and taxpayers are concerned about politics creeping into our classrooms and onto our school boards. We can't have it. Schools are no place for politics. Schools are for learning. Schools are for learning about history, and some of history brings up difficult conversations. We want our kids to succeed. We want all kids to be proud of themselves and never, ever feel ashamed. Kids can't learn when they feel ashamed. Kids can't learn when they feel that they don't belong. The best environment for learning is when we work together to prepare all of our teachers and make sure they have had all of the resources and training to have difficult conversations about the Holocaust, about slavery, about the Civil War, about the Civil Rights Movement, and so many more historical issues that come up. That's what I will work for if you elect me.
Donna, what is the role of schools in teaching our students about topics and skills involved in sexuality education, digital literacy, wellness, and bullying?
That's a long list. Let me make sure I got it all. Okay. So sexual education in our district, that's in 5th grade. It's the 5th grade maturation program. Parents have access to all the information. There's a parent orientation about it. I have no plans to change any of that curriculum, nor do I think it is necessary. It is in 5th grade right now. Digital literacy. Yeah, this is a big one. I think I mentioned this a little bit in our discussion about screen time. Kids need to be mindful users of technology. We as adults, teachers, parents, we need to model good digital literacy, good digital citizenship for our kids and make sure that they know, I think it is the next one on the list, wellness. It is connected to wellness, right? When you open up an app, is there a feeling that's associated with that? We need to make sure kids are mindful of the emotions that come to play here. And the last part, I have 30 seconds to talk about bullying. Bullying is a serious issue, and I'm really concerned that it's at every level of our schools. It seems to be happening younger and younger. Kids need to feel safe. They learn best in environments where they are respected and where they are safe and ready to learn.
Sexual education in our 5th grade in the maturation program and then in health classes in the high school is appropriate. Anything other coming into the district, anything that we hear on the news, I would be opposed to. I would not think that it's appropriate to teach younger than that children different, different things that we're hearing about spoken in the news. Digital literacy is the way education is going. Textbooks, books in general, they're on the computers, on the screens. It's a way to learn, but again, not a way to abuse. It's the school district's way to put in the hands of the children the way to bring their textbook, their notepad, everything combined in that laptop. But it is also part of a parental responsibility to make sure your child's not on that when they're at home all the time. In the school, they will use it for that amount of time, but doesn't necessarily make it that every child is going to keep that on all the time and use it all the time. We as parents need to take that responsibility on our own, because if they don't have a school computer, they more than likely have a smartphone, an iPad, and they have the same access as what's on the same access they would have on what's on the computer. Bullying is never acceptable. Bullying, we work towards in this district to correct. It is all around us, but that's something we work to achieve every day that's in the school. Wellness is, of course, I have stopped. Thank you.
So there are a number of questions along this line. John, this is yours. What's the last book you read, or the most influential book you have read?
I have to say the Bible. That's and it's a big influence, and it's a big driver in my life, and it had become a very important part of my life 3 years ago when I lost my son, and that steers me and guides me in what I believe is the right direction, and it has impacted my life tremendously.
Donna?
That's a good answer. It's tough. That's a tough act. It's hard to pick. I'm thinking the last book I read was the first question. I'm thinking about my book club. I'm thinking about Beartown, Frederick Bachman. I highly recommend. The most influential book, I'm thinking about the books we read in high school, right? I'm thinking about The Great Gatsby. I'm thinking about Frankenstein. I'm thinking about things that kids remember when they look back at their educational experiences. And I grew up in the library. My mother was a civil service employee at the Merrick Library for 20 years. That was my daycare. Books were my friends. And I really think that teaching kids early to love reading, to have fun with that, is setting them up for a foundation to be a lifelong learner. And what's better than that?
Thank you. Donna, who or what influenced your decision to run for the Board of Elections? Board of Ed. I'm a voting specialist for New York State, so I see Board of. Excuse me.
Yeah, look, I have been a resident of this district for almost 20 years. I've been an active and involved parent for 17 years, if you count my kids in preschool. And 3 years ago, John ran unopposed, and I don't think that's great for the community to not have a choice. So I raised my hand so that the community has a choice. I have worked for all of these years to increase communication and increase transparency. I started the Parent University program here. I researched it in other districts, and I brought it to Rockville Center so that parents could make informed choices about their children's education, so that we could bring in experts and learn from people who are doing the work in our kids' classrooms. I raised my hand to run because I'm worried that communication and transparency have gotten worse, not better. And if I'm elected, I will make those priorities.
John?
I'll say the community influenced me to run. The community, the Rockville Center community is a great connected community. They have, from my beginning 12 years ago, it started that way, and most recently, the support of this community for my family and my children has made me feel, I'll say, almost an obligation or a desire to give back to the community. They have helped my family immensely, and this is me giving back to the community. It clearly was not my wife who influenced me to run on the board, but she sees a need. She understands that, but it's a difficult thing for my family. It's a sacrifice for the family, but to serve and give back to the community, give back to our kids in this school, is a great honor for me. And I take that responsibility very seriously, and everything I do, every vote I take, every action I take is so the children of this district are in a better place than they were the day before. Thank you.
John, this question's for you. Assembly Bill A 8378 would require all K through 12 students to be vaccinated against COVID-19. What is your position on this legislation? Are there any circumstances under which you would support a COVID-19 vaccine mandate for K through 12 students?
I will never support that, and I will fight that with every ounce of energy I have, because I think that no government entity should be telling us what we have to do with our kids, especially in a medical setting, especially that these vaccines are being touted as safe for everybody, but there's no real research to that. There are too many chances, too many unknowns to be doing this, to be doing it. But if a parent wants to do it and they're comfortable with doing it, they have every right and they deserve that right, but nobody should be able to tell you that you have to do this for your children. I believe that with every ounce, every fiber of my soul, and I will fight to stop that from happening.
Donna?
No, I would not support a mandatory vaccination requirement for COVID-19, but frankly, my personal opinion doesn't matter. There is a list of required vaccinations that New York State gives to public schools. We have to follow the law. The board the board members are sworn officers to uphold the law. I think we need to focus on what the role of the Board of Education is, and that is to make policy decisions, and that is to hire a superintendent, and that is to make sure that our kids are getting the best education.
Okay, so Donna, this one's yours. RVC made national news this year by segregating parents by vaccination status at school concerts. Please confirm if you agreed with this and would implement it again.
No, it would not be something I would look to implement again. I think the goal of the two seating sections was to increase parent attendance at the school concerts. It was not a great plan. I would not recommend it again. And I, for one, am glad that the virus is not dictating every single decision that we make.
I think the voices of a few corrupted that whole idea and put the terminology and segregation in there. The students came to the Board of Education meeting, asked that we open up their concerts and their plays to their parents. Otherwise, we would have limited it. It was a pure thought of getting as many people in a room that could enjoy and be part of their children's play, concert, and even athletics. And to corrupt that with that terminology is just despicable. It was not, no one ever talked that way, no one ever intended it to be that way, and it should not be classified that way. News takes something and wants to sensationalize it, and that's all it was. People sensationalized just the pure fact of trying to get as many parents in to watch their children's performances as possible. We wanted to finally open up so parents could be present when their children perform on the stage. And it was a pure, simple thought, pure, simple process, and it was just, the change of the word was just horrific. Thank you.
Okay, John, this one's for you. How have you and will you support athletics? More specifically, what do you think are most important in evaluating our interscholastic sports teams?
I have always supported the athletic program in this school. Even the people who will come out against me at this, in this time, know that over the past 15 years, I've been an avid supporter of the athletics. I think athletics bring something to our students that help them achieve in life. I think it helps them, it team builds them, helps them work with people and understand the concept of working as a team and moving forward. To be pegged as somebody who doesn't support athletics is just I'm truly disheartened by it. For anybody who can point to one vote that will make or break their feeling on how I support the athletic department, I would say shame on you. Because if you look back over the 12 years I've been on the board, I've supported the complex that's outside that everybody enjoys. I've supported putting all kinds of improvements into the athletic program, uniforms. This year I supported adding assistant coaches to all the teams. So it's just, it makes no sense to me that somebody will take one thing and make my record, or attempt to make my record, that it didn't exist, or it wasn't important, or it wasn't significant. Thank you.
Donna?
I'm glad to see more support for athletics in our budget this year. I'm excited to see the new teams and meet our new coaches. And I think that these athletics and clubs and after-school activities are some of the most important opportunities we can give our students, because learning doesn't just happen in the classrooms. Learning happens out on the fields and in the courts and on the rinks and in the pools and in the dance studios. Learning happens everywhere, and all of the team building and the self-esteem and the ability for students to see themselves outside of the classroom and have success is so important. We need to focus and continue to support our sports programs. I think it's actually related to mental health as well. It gives students a sense of resilience, a sense of meeting a challenge, facing an adversary, facing an obstacle, and coming out on the other side. Win or lose, there are lessons to be learned in athletics.
Thank you. Donna? Evidently there's been some hostility in Board of Ed meetings. How would you address that hostility?
I think that's a really unfortunate situation that's been going on in our Board of Ed meetings, and if we all have the same goal, which is the educational experience of our students, we all have to row the boat in the same direction. We need to be unified. Over my history of all of these years in the Rockville Center School, I have brought people together. I have reached out and asked for help. Can you please present at this Parent University workshop? Can you please come in to a PTA meeting and talk to our parents and educate us? We need to work together. We need to put aside personal agendas and petty grievances and focus on the goal to move our students to a better future. We can't keep getting in each other's way. We need to work together.
The responsibility of the Board of Education is not to rubber stamp what comes down from administration, the superintendent. Our job is to question, ask the questions, and unfortunately, the questions can be controversial. The questions can cause a difference between board members. It's our responsibility, though, to ask those questions, whether they're hard or easy, and work out the details in the end. In the past, the boards have met behind closed doors to try and come together, to try and create an atmosphere of peace and understanding and cooperation, but that's illegal. It's unfortunate that people think it's bad that we're disagreeing, but that's the law. We need to meet in public, have these discussions. The public needs to understand that board members have their different constituents and their different opinions on things, and sometimes that will result in arguments, and that's not bad. The conflict creates resolution in the end, and that's how the district moves forward. The board is 5 members, majority rules on the board, and that's how the district is set to move forward. That's what a board's job or obligation is to do. Make the decision, have the vote, and move forward. And that's how we should be operating. And if there is conflict or arguing, that's healthy. I have no problem with that. I really don't believe that's an issue. I think it's transparency at its best. Thank you.
John, how should the board, BOE, interact with the superintendent and other administrators?
How should they?
Interact.
We have been in a void for years with the superintendent. The last superintendent was not an effective leader for us, so it left us in kind of a vacuum on what to deal with. We are very fortunate that Mr. Bartell stepped up to be an interim superintendent, and he did a great job, supported the district, moved it forward, but he didn't want to create a goal or a direction for the district to move in. The new superintendent, who we will approve at tomorrow night's board meeting, will come into the district, sit down with the Board of Education, and create the goals and the mission and the direction the district will go in. That's what the board is supposed to do. Work with the superintendent to create the goals, and then the superintendent's job and responsibility is to go back to the teachers, the administrators, and set this goal in motion and bring those goals and those desires to the public and explain where the district is going to go to.
Donna?
I'm excited to meet the new superintendent. I'm excited for him to get to know our community and get to understand the values of the Rockville Centre Schools community. We've seen what happens when the full board does not support the superintendent. The entire board needs to realize the importance of supporting this instructional leader. We need him to take a hard look at our educational programs, evaluate our reading, our literacy programs, our math and our science, our college readiness. We need to look at the entire spectrum of what we offer our students, and we need to consider ways to refresh, revitalize, and maybe even reconsider how we are doing things in our district.
Donna, how can the district better promote BOCES, alternative paths to graduation?
I think this comes down to communications and transparency. We have a communications problem. I don't think all students and parents understand the full breadth of options available to our students. BOCES has phenomenal programs that students take half day during their high school experience. The alternative paths in the high school are maybe not well understood. We could do a better job explaining all of the options to all of our students and parents. There's work to be done, no question.
John?
The hire of the new assistant superintendent, Ms. Love, has brought to light and given direction to opening up those options at BOCES, telling our students the availability of those options. The administration in the past has shied away from that because of the rigors of IB for all or co-seating in IB, however you want to describe that. It didn't really leave much opportunity for that to happen because too much emphasis was placed on the needs to fulfill your requirements to move forward. So we are seeing, as of this budget, the budget for next year, additional funding for vocational training, additional availability, or the ability for students to go to BOCES. So it is a communication issue. The new Miss Love has, I believe, crossed that line from the old administration to where we need to be, and she is creating an avenue that will open up BOCES and other opportunities for the students that desire that.
John, do you believe term limits for BOE positions would benefit the district, and why?
I truly don't. If there's a calling or a desire for a board member to serve, and if the public makes that decision, that's up to the public. The public should decide if there are term limits. Our history in Rockville Centre has been many board members who've gone for many terms. I know there's the inference that maybe I've served too long, but my opponent endorsed a candidate last year who served the same exact amount of time as I have and endorsed her to move forward. So it's up to the public, really. The public, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to stop somebody from going forward. If you feel they're not the right person for the job, then that in my eyes is what term limits should be, not preset, not pre-made. Because who's going to determine that? What should determine that? I don't believe that it should be determined. It is the public's choice, the public's desire to move a candidate forward as they move on.
Donna?
I think my experience as a volunteer has prepared me to take on the challenges of becoming a board member. All the things that I've learned across various experiences in our community, learning about how our district works, getting through some really tough times and some heated debates and some contentious issues, redistricting, that possibility, the bond votes. Experience matters. It helps to know where we've been to help us get to the future. I don't know if there should be term limits. 3 years feels like a long way from now. What we need right now is change. What we need right now is to determine who can bring us into the future, who can make all of the relationships in our district come together and serve our students into the future.
Thank you. Donna, the last question is for you. What can our schools do better to prepare students to be citizens in our democratic society?
Children need the freedom to learn. They need to feel safe and supported in their classrooms because that's where they learn best. Every child, every student has value, has contributions to make. All of the people who work in our school buildings need to be treated with respect. Our children are going to take us into the future. They are going to be making decisions. The mission statement of our district is to prepare our students for the challenges of an emerging world, to prepare our students for tomorrow. That can't be just one group's job or one person's job. This is all hands on deck. This is parents working with teachers, working with principals, working with staff, working with coaches, working together to support our students so they know we got you, but eventually you have to lead us. You have to bring us into the future. It's all hands on deck, and that's what I will be if elected as your Board of Ed member.
To me, it's very simple. It's to offer a curriculum that supports all our students so they can achieve the goals that will help them or guide them into the future. That has to be a decision for the parents and the child also, because that makes a difference. If someone wants to be an engineer, they will need different things than if somebody wants to be a financial person. So our school needs to open up its offerings, look at its curriculum to offer our students a more diverse portfolio to pick from. We need to develop impactful programs that support put all our students on a level playing field. We need to have programs that will adapt to our students that want to go to college and our students that don't want to go to college. We need to give them the tools to move forward in what they feel and their families feel are appropriate for them to go forward.
Thank you. Before we go into the 2-minute closing, I would just like to thank these two candidates for having the courage to run for office. It is not an easy endeavor, as I'm certain most of you in the audience are aware. It's a thankless quest. However, it's rewarded when you go to the polling booth to make your vote for the candidate of your choice. It's important, I think, for all of us to remember that most of our elected officials, many of them, start at the school board level. So this community's election that's coming up for the school board is an important one. It's also, these people help shape your district and your schools that your children are an integral part of. So after their closing statements, I hope that all of you will join me in a round of applause for both of these candidates and the courage that they've displayed in answering these 28 questions that you all have provided us tonight. So with that, I also would like to just say thank you to Heather and Marlene, first name basis, for all that they've done, and everyone else that contributed to make this evening a success. So with that, John, you have 2 minutes.
I want to thank you all for your time and participation in tonight's candidate forum. This is an incredibly important election for this school district. Our district faces many challenges from the past 2.5 years: COVID slide, learning loss, mental health challenges, and an overall disruption in our children's school and social life. Failing test scores and eroding school rankings are of a great concern to me and need to be addressed. As president of the board this year, and with the help and support of several board members, we have begun the work of getting past these setbacks. I have started the conversation to open up the discussion on our school district's curriculum issues. I have ended past practices of committees that meet behind closed doors with only a select few people involved. Instead, I have brought the conversation to the public forum, where everybody's concerns and comments can be heard. I have and will continue to challenge the administration to acknowledge and correct the things that diminish the learning experience of our children. We need to understand what we have done, evaluate what we are doing, and plan how we will do it better as we move forward. We need to support our students so they can comprehend, apply, and retain the education that we provide them. We need to ensure we provide our children with the tools they need to be successful, happy, productive members of society on whatever avenue they take to choose in life. We need to support our children through the challenges they will face and help them understand it's okay to ask for help. There never should be a stigma attached with that. That is what we all need to strive for. This community supports our district, teachers, and staff. The board needs to ensure the administration is held accountable to provide the education that propels each and every one of our students to the place that they can be successful. Thank you.
Donna?
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for your 28 questions. That's a little more than I was expecting. I want to take our students and our schools into a better future. The only way to get there and to achieve our goals is to start working together. Collaborate, cooperate, connect. If the pandemic taught us anything, it's that we need each other. We're so much better when we work together. Our kids deserve the very best curriculum, the best teachers, the great schools we have come to expect. We might disagree on the details. I have the knowledge and the experience to help us work towards consensus. What I know we agree on is that we value our schools. We love our community. We lift each other up. We help each other out. We do not tear each other down. I know there's a lot of negativity out there right now. I love our schools. And the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Whether you have children in our schools or not, please do not be indifferent to the state of our public schools. I'm a mom who cares, and I speak up even when it's really hard. I will work so that you have better ways to participate. I'm asking you to help us work together. Vote for better schools. Vote for me.
And let's give the candidates a big round of applause.